Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another StarCraft 2 England cast. Today I have got a Heart of the Swarm game. It is between Glon, the red Zerg player in the top left position, who is up against KO, the blue Protoss in the lower left. That means it's a ZvP, and it is on Star Station, one of the new ladder maps. And the game is actually from Glon, and I've got quite a few of his games, so I'm going to kind of do quite a lot of those, because Glon is, well, at the time that I'm recording this, he was the #1 GM ranked player. So, in the beta that was. So, he's clearly doing pretty well for himself. He's been putting a lot of time in, so this is a really high level game, and you may not have heard of either of these two players, but they are doing fairly well for themselves. They've got obviously really high MMRs, and being the beta, a lot of the big name people haven't moved over yet, so we'll wait and see how it all goes. But these two, definitely top notch, so really looking forward to seeing what they do. Now, for those of you who haven't seen Star Station, it is a pretty cool map. It's basically just a map that's flying through space, as far as I'm aware. I mean, it appears to be that way anyway, from looking at it. It looks kind of Protoss-y in my opinion, so that is all pretty cool. And yeah, they are talking absolutely loads in the chat, because not much is going on. They are just happily mining and droning away. We do have the pylon down here, so as you can see, the strategy for Protoss early game hasn't changed much, in that it will still be a fast expansion, be it a Forge or Nexus first. The unbuildable plates, obviously, there at the moment. What else is going on? We have got the drone moving down. That's all fine. Going for, it looks like a 15 hatch actually, so this is quite interesting. Usually you don't see a 15 hatch come down early on, you tend to see a pull first in ZvP, but all in all, it's, again, it's not a massive problem. It's, judging by the fact that it's a 4-player map, and they can spawn in any positions, you don't quite know where your opponent is, and he hasn't been scouted out yet, so it's very unlikely that you're going to get rushed on this map, because the rush time could potentially go down quite badly depending on if you scout wrong. Anyway, spawning pool is there. We do have the Forge coming down to the Nexus first out of KO as well, and KO is gonna really have a good economy, but then so is Glon, so it's all absolutely fine. And to be fair, they're both going pretty much standard, so I wouldn't worry too much. Of course, I am casting more Heart of the Swarm games at the moment, and I'm thinking of doing about one a week, give or take, so do let me know how you prefer it. If you want me to do, say, 1 a week, 2 a week, slowly ramp them up, just do them as games come in and go out. But yeah, let me know, and obviously I will try and cater to what most people want, and make sure of course you like the video and leave a cool comment and subscribe as well. But I will be still putting up a game a day, regardless of whether it's Heart of the Swarm or Wings of Liberty, and hopefully the lagginess of the replays will get sorted fairly soon. Supposedly it has been, but we'll wait and see whether that actually occurs. Anyway, in terms of what else is happening, the photon cannon coming down. We do of course have the first 2 gas coming up at the moment for KO. We have, well, not much else. Gateway. Meanwhile, up for the Zerg player, the first 2 queens on their way out. The first gas on its way here for Glon, so that's quite interesting. The reason being, in my opinion, is just because this map isn't too nice for Zerg against Protoss, because your expansions are never going to be too comfortable. You can expand down here, but the problem being is it's a long way away, and as a result, if Protoss units get into this sort of position, you can run into problems. You've also got the back entrance in, which is frankly an absolutely humongous ramp, which can make it difficult, but it's quite good. And also, once you go down that humongous ramp, you can get some good force field placement through here, and it can become awkward. And yeah, third, down here is the other possibility, which has now been scouted. The problem with this is there's 1, 2, 3 attack routes into it, which can make holding it off quite difficult. Also, if units come from this kind of angle, you can get nice force routes through here, which can be awkward for a Zerg. But for a Protoss player, it's not actually too easy to take their third, because of the fact that there are all these wide open ramps and entrances, which favour Zerg slightly. But generally, we'll wait and see how it all goes down. I mean, timing-wise, this third base was a little late. It came down more at about 5 minutes, so again, a bit further on than we really expect to see in the standard Wings of Liberty metagame, but that does mean that the third queen is out, so that is the advantage of delaying it slightly. You get that third queen a little bit quicker, you get that creep spread going, and for the time being, there's no real show of the strategy other than the robotics facility coming down, so it'll be interesting to see what KO does, because as they're saying in the chat, 2 Oracle builds are really popular, but they don't work that well in my opinion. They're okay, but if your opponent is expecting it, they're incredibly squishy, so problems can come in and do a lot. So yeah, looking around, still not too much going on. That 1 gas hasn't really been used for much. It's got down the can't speak, Zergling speed upgrade, but the rest of it hasn't actually been used for Leb, which is surprising when we don't see a rotary on either, so there's no reason to bulk it up. It just should be chucked down ASAP. Looking down here, the third, fourth gas up for the Protoss player, the Stalker completing the wall off. We do have 2 observers queued up. Apparently he's just going to go and look at his natural. They're not rallied anywhere else for the time being. The third base up and running. Worker count 44 to 40. What else do we have en route? We do have currently these 2 evolution chambers. We've got the 3 gateways on their way down as well now. So it's starting to shape up to be something similar to an Immortal Sentry all-in the sense that we do have the robotics facility and the 4 gateways, but with no Immortals pumped out and rather just these 2 observers pretty quickly, it is going to be really heavily delayed. I mean, the Immortal is on its way out now. Meanwhile, +1 melee attack on its way, +1 carapace just started there as well. That's to be expected. Worker count wise, Glon slowly catching up in terms of the workers. His lair started now, still banking quite a lot of gas for the time being, but he's got the upgrades going, which is good. Transitioning out of this, being Heart of the Swarm, you do have different options available to you. You can go, obviously, for Swarm Hosts, which are pretty potent. They do a good contain. You can deny the third base expansion for Protoss. And other than that, Hydras are still viable due to their speed upgrade, but are really susceptible to Colossus. So that is the only small problem. Of course, the third base now getting scouted. They are being forced to expand towards each other, which can be an issue. We've got those spine crawlers coming down, the Mothership Core on its way, and it's a unit which is got eventually for everyone, but for some reason it hasn't got a set timing yet of when's the best point to get it. And yep, Infestation Pit on its way down. This is all looking good. We've got the Observer still just chilling there, taking a good look at everything going on. No 4th base yet, but the 3rd base of course is known, so that is good news. We have the robotics bay rather, coming down as well, so that is all very nice. +1 armor as well. Just taking a look, the spine crawlers finishing up. It's fairly happy. All of this scouting information absolutely fantastic. Sees precisely what's happening, sees the infestation pit finishing. Doesn't know whether it's swarm hosts or infestors though, that's the only problem. We do have a lot more gateways adding on here, so a good defensive wall, 3 cannons, which may be a bit OTT, but with so many sentries there, these force fields are going to be able to hold this back for essentially forever, with the wall off as well, so that's good news. Hive is on its way down, so a quick tech up to Hive as well, and surprisingly no tech being got out of this infestation pit for the moment. So Ultras, a possibility. With their change, they're very strong indeed, but whether they're worthwhile or not, we'll wait and see. But we do have the +2 upgrades coming down. 1-1 is now finished. The Zerglings are going to get a nice little run by, but a good warp in of Zealots completing the wall off mean that their party is going to end fairly quickly, unless of course they just punch straight through the Zealots, which now won't occur with the additional warp in, but that is fine. Meanwhile, the first Colossus on its way out, that's good news. The Mothership Core still just chilling there, and I think the Mothership Core actually has one of the coolest just sitting there animations ever. Like that bit in the center, just so swish, I love it. But 4th base en route, that is good news. Hive about to finish up. 2-2 upgrades, a quarter done. Extended thermal lance on its way, no chrono boost yet though. And no additional upgrades, which is due to the fact that there is no Twilight Council. And as I thought, the Ultra Cavern coming down, so about 11 minutes-ish getting the Ultralisk Cavern. So Ultras, as I said, with their change are pretty potent against everything, but are still going to fall to the same vulnerabilities of they always have. If they are focused down, if you get a lot of Stalkers with Blink, they aren't going to work too effectively without the Infestors as well to lock the enemy units in place. It could run into some problems. These Zerglings potentially gonna find things a bit awkward, but do run away ASAP, trying to avoid anything and everything. And really they're just there for run-by aggression, should it be needed. Some run-bys coming in to the 3rd base though, and actually managed to pick up quite a few sentries, and that is a big loss at this stage of the game, because if you're losing those sentries when your army is essentially under 50 army supply, then it's always going to hurt. The Mothership Core doing a nice job trying to help clear out these Zerglings, but on its own does not have much damage potential. We still have the Protoss force moving across. The 8 Ultras are now in production though, so that is pretty substantial. We also have the Ultra Armor upgrade coming down. Blink now en route, as well as the +2 ground weapons for Protoss. Extended Thermal Lance about to finish up as well. These Zerglings still trying to come in here and deal some damage, but again, they're not going to get much off when you've got 2 Colossi on the field just chilling there. We've got, yeah, good creep spread, so that's nice to know. Worker count 74 to 69, so Glon could perhaps do with a few more. Adrenal glands getting researched, which is my favourite thing in the world. Everyone loves adrenal glands coming down because it is such a good upgrade. We do have the three upgrades shortly starting. There we go. So they're all coming down nicely. We've got the Ultra Cabin researching the armor upgrades, so that is nearly finished as well. And what's this? Ooh, we've actually got Gravatic Drive coming down. So are we going to see some drop play? It would appear so with the Warp Prism coming. And the Zerglings are really utilising the fact that there's lots of different attack paths through this map, which make it quite exciting, where you can dodge and dart through all of them. Looking up at the Ultra count, it's getting pretty ridiculous. I'm not going to lie, this is a lot of Ultras. An exceptionally large number of Ultralists, which aren't doing very much yet, but will inevitably come and destroy the entire Protoss force with relative ease. Blink is nearly finished, so if this push hits before Blink is done, which is a couple of seconds away still, it could be very strong indeed. Are the Ultras going to be able to get in? No, not yet. It looks like Glon does not want to go for this engagement yet. He does have to be careful, because obviously force fields are not effective against Ultralisks in the slightest, and with no immortals, or rather just the one immortal, he could run into some problems. Glon trying to spread out his army as best he can. He's got more ultras on the way. He is maxed out, and as you can see, these ultralists trying to do really incredible amounts of damage to essentially everything. Get a very nice surround here. The Stalkers blink away ASAP, but just look at these ultras go, using the Nexus as a giant siege cannon, with of course the new Mothership ability, which is always fun to watch. And Glon is forced to pull back, but he's getting some Vipers out, and Vipers, as I've seen in every Heart of the Swarm game I've cast with the Zerg so far, are incredibly powerful. That pullback, a Warp-In coming down, and this Warp-In is going to be able to do a substantial amount of damage incredibly quickly. Looks like the Zed is just going to focus down on the Hive as fast as possible, but in come these Ultras, and they are suddenly going to start doing insane amounts of damage. Transfuse going down on the Hive, and with Zerglings there with the Adrenal Glands upgrade at 2-2, they are going to clean up those Zealots incredibly fast indeed. Meanwhile though, a handful of Zerglings down here trying to do some damage, but it's going to get shut down very hard. The 5th base now on the way down for Glon, and all in all, he should be fairly comfortable. He's getting up finally an awful lot of Spine Crawlers. That Warp Prism isn't going to survive, so unfortunately for Glon, he's not going to be able to take that down. All in all, it's starting to gear up to be pretty standard. The +3 Protoss ground weapons coming down, 3-3, exceptionally close to finishing up here for the Zerg player, but, well, this 5th base, probably the most important thing, because it keeps him a base, well, 2 bases up. No, 1 base up. He's got his 3rd and 4th. What am I on about? Anyway, this Protoss force happily chilling here. We've got the double Stargate en route, so that could be, of course, used for the Tempest, which would be very strong against this army composition, mainly because there's no anti-air, essentially. So that is always a flaw in going Zergling Ultra, is that you have nothing that shoots up. Having a look though, so many Spine Crawlers coming down. Clearly Glon learned from his mistake up here of Warpins being unfun, and is now just getting an exceptionally high number of pretty much everything to deal with it. And just look at that new death animation, it's pretty beautiful, I love it. Oh no, actually that's the pickup animation, it's even more beautiful. That is stunning. And of course, Templar Archives now just on the way, some Photon Cannons on the way, we've got not much else on the way, but Glon maxed out. Kyo at 175 out of 200. We've got Charge getting researched now as well, so Blink already done, might as well get Charge. And with the +3 finished up for Glon, his army is going to be surprisingly potent at killing just about everything. Adrenal Gland, 3-3 Zerglings are so powerful. The Viper's still just chilling there. They're going to try and grab the Colossus almost certainly and abduct them straight in. Blinding Cloud would also be effective against the Stalkers, allowing the Ultras to get into range ever so well while not taking any damage. This 4th base could be starting to run into some problems, and well, here we go. Are the Vipers going to do anything? What are they going to go for? Blinding Cloud to abduct. It looks like they're going to just abduct straight in, chuck the Blinding Cloud down as well, and the Blinding Clouds could have been a bit better, but as you can see, these Ultras getting a nice attack on those Colossus. As we can see, they're cleaning up an awful lot of things. The Blinding Cloud is also going to allow a nice little escape. Looking down here though, all of those Photon Cannons get taken out fairly quickly. The Nexus was made into a giant cannon, of course, doing 20 damage per hit with just over a 1 second recharge, and well, Hive gets taken down. That's a big loss. That means no more Vipers, and that in itself can be a huge problem. The Spine Crawlers were unfortunately all positioned around here, even though there's so much dead space around the back of the map. 5th base though is up, so in terms of income it doesn't matter too much. The Spire just can't be made into a greater Spire though, that's the problem. And as we can see, for the moment, Glon is taking quite heavy losses and hasn't really done that much damage in my opinion. If we look at the actual loss tab, we can see that Kyo has lost more, but then he's been sacrificing an awful lot of zealots. Glon is banking up an awful lot of minerals and gas for the time being, and he is always going to be at risk of losing bases through this warping because there's just so much dead space through here. I mean, when was the last map you saw where there's more dead space without seeing anything? It's crazy. But in comes this warp prism. Not going to go for anything. Just see so many spine crawlers. The corruptors come out as well, and we'll be able to snipe this off. So that is great news for the lovely Zerg. And well, the Protoss player, equally lovely, is getting up Void Rays, because skill rays are now pretty damn good with their overchargeability. We have +1 air weapons on the way down. We also have Storm being researched for those High Templar. Double Colossus production is great news, and Infestor actually hitting the field. So of course Infestors now have a projectile fungal growth for anyone who doesn't know, and that is going to make things pretty excited. The double Warp Prism following up the double Colossus, so dropping was clearly found to be effective previously, but with Corruptors up, I'm not quite sure how well this is going to go down, because Glon clearly did not like losing his hive, so is repairing it by making Corruptors make sure he cannot die to it possibly ever. Upgrade wise, we are at 3-1 for the Protoss compared to 3-3 for the Zerg, which is great news for Glon, bad news for Kyo. He's really behind in terms of the upgrade, which could run into some of these Zerglings are being forced. But look at how out of position the Protoss army is, and Glon is going to be able to just come up here and mash his way through all of these gateways incredibly quickly. Look at how much damage these Ultras do when they get around on essentially everything, and they're going to munch through those probes like they don't even exist. There's a lot of production capability being knocked out here as well for Kyo at the moment, and he's probably going to lose his Nexus as well should Glon want to take it out, but it looks like instead just going to pull back. The Nexus has yet again become a super giant cannon, which I think is the most awesome ability ever, and it's got a pretty terrible animation in my opinion. Like, that animation does need to get improved. It just looks really bad compared to everything else. At least my personal thoughts. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, Warp Prisms, they're coming down. We've got +1 air weapons nearly finished up, because why on earth not? These Ultras are apparently going to try and take down the Warp Prism. Or not, they're just going to run back, realise, hey, we can't attack up. The Viper count is down to 2. They do have full energy though, so they can be pretty potent. And I mean, Blinding Cloud is always going to be fairly nice against a heavy Stalker army, because it just really knocks down the range. It's great news. This Mothership Core happily granting vision of everything, so allows those spore crawlers, the spore crawlers, no, the creep tumors. God, I've been casting for like 5 hours straight, and I've just switched over to HotS to do one Heart of the Swarm game, and I get confused by every word at this point. But as we can see, gateways are on their way down, so replacing the ones lost up here. But of course, this base looking a little bit vulnerable. Doesn't matter too much considering the fact that so many of those mineral patches have been completely destroyed. Looking up, the Warp Prism is trying to find an area it can attack in here, and the answer is there isn't one, because there's spine crawlers literally surrounding everything. Meanwhile, the worker count 59-56, because both players are banking huge amount. Well, actually, Glon is banking huge amounts. He can practically throw away all of his drones and still have enough. We've got slight bits of engagements coming down here, but looking at Kyo's army, it's pretty much maxed out. It's really as dangerous as it's going to get. The Void Ways are going to be tough to deal with, but a great fungal growth goes down. The Infestor's really helping. With only 2 Corruptors though, it could be a little bit difficult, but Glon, he's going through, and he is trying to take out absolutely everything as best he can. The Infested Terrans doing a really nice job of clearing up the Void Ways, and the Void Ways not being microed out at all for the time being, but the Ultras are slowly going to die to the Void Ways. I say slowly, with their overchargeability, they're actually dying incredibly fast to the Void Rays. 15 Corruptors and 6 more Ultras on the way in, because Ultra Corruptor is always going to engage well, but Glon are nearly 100 supply ahead right now. That was a good engagement for him. If we look at the loss tab, we can see Kyo lost an awful lot more this time. The Greatest Fire almost certainly going to die now though, because this is the one point on the map that doesn't have a Spine Crawler by it, which is quite unfortunate. And yeah, I think they made those a little too strong. And I'm not quite sure what Kyo's talking about. Maybe the Ultras, which would be a fair comment, because when they're doing 44 damage per hit to everything, it is pretty potent with splash damage as well. We've got Glon trying to take up his 6th base, and these Zealots just chilling up here, which is pretty cool. But those Zealots, they don't want to fight. They just want to make sure you don't build anything there, which is fine. And yeah, looking around, we've got not too much. We've got this base pretty much mined out. We've got a handful of units here, an awful lot of Archons though, to be fair, so that is really a big composition. But of course, these Ultras are still going to plow through Archons as if there's no tomorrow, so that is fairly good news. We've got more Zealots there, we've got a handful more units chilling pretty much all over the place, and yeah, the Corruptors are happily waiting, the Ultras happily waiting. This engagement isn't going to go too well for the Protoss player. Mass Ultra, Mass Corruptor against Archon Voidway. The Voidways are going to melt, but the Corruptors, if they stack up, are going to die so quick. So basically Kyo's entire strategy is about trying to keep those Voidways alive, but it's not going too well at the moment because the Ultra's just coming in ASAP. So much damage being done absolutely everywhere. This is an crazy manic fight, and the Ultras appear to be winning it quite substantially. The Corruptors are getting taken out though, and that means that the 3 remaining Voidways are going to slowly be able to clean up everything else. It will take them a bit of time, but they can eventually kill all of these Voidways, kill all of these Ultralisks rather, and at which point the Ultras become a lot less effective when dead, and that is apparently still their weakness in Heart of the Swarm. Regardless of what Kyo says, Ultras are still weak to air, and judging by Glon's composition, I'm really surprised that Kyo didn't transition into air toss, because Protoss air is arguably incredibly strong in Heart of the Swarm if you can get it up. But when you've got all these bases, you can transition to that quite comfortably. I mean, a lot of Tempest, along with some carriers and Voidways, are pretty much unstoppable if you throw in as well that beautiful, beautiful Mothership. And then you essentially win, and there's not much you can do about it, especially with the Tempest in there. I mean, the Corruptors don't deal that well in counteracting complete air toss. They do okay, but it's not magnificent, and especially when so much of the supply is taken up in Ultralisks, it's never going to work. So I'm surprised Kyo didn't do that. That would have been my approach to the situation, is, well, if you're going to go mass Ultra, I'll go mass air units, and we'll watch you attack up. But as we can see, this base is definitely going to get denied. It's not going to go down too well. We've got a War Prison taken out at the top there. Meanwhile, the rest of this Protoss army going off, but there's the GG. Kyo just feels like he can't do it, unfortunately. So that was a Heart of the Swarm game. Let me know what you think in the comment section if you like it, and of course like the video, leave a cool comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you tomorrow for yet another new game. And don't forget to let me know if you want more Heart of the Swarm, more Wings of Liberty, or a rough balance. Give me like 70-30, 40-60, let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching, catch you tomorrow, bye.